Welcome to This Week in Cuckada.
No hockey night in Canada.
It's actually episode 9. Yep.
In 1812, Madison was mad. He was the president, you know.
The fucking computer. We've been trying for an hour and a fucking half to load the articles. But the computer's stuck in fucking Windows 7 and it just doesn't work. You know, so there might be a bit of fucking boomer tech in tonight's episode. So you go through these articles. But as we get through the articles, the computer will start to work.
Canadians burned down the White House. That's right, Ralph. Crying.
The Americans didn't even stand a chance. The Canadians just beat the shit out of
Just
the
destroyed America.
You know.
They were just destroyed. They tried to conquer Canada, but were blown out. White House burned down. Total conclusive victory for Canada there, you know?
The Americans are a bunch of stupid fucking idiots who are trying to invade Canada. You know, Canada beat the shit out of the fucking Americans, and we'll do it again and again.
We're winning.
You know, Americans ain't half fucking shit on Cuckada. You know.
They ran away like a bunch of babies and cried soon.
Yeah. That's what it is to be an American.
Minding our own business, putting crops into the ground.
We heard the soldiers coming and we didn't like that sound.
So we took a boat to Washington and burned it to the ground.
Oh, we fired our guns, but the Yankees kept it coming. There wasn't quite as many as there was a while ago. We fired once more and the Yankees started running down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico.
Damn Yankees!
They ran through the bushes where the beavers wouldn't go. They ran so fast they forgot to take their culture back to America and Gulf and Mexico.
So, if you go to Washington, its buildings clean and nice. Bring a pack of matches, and we'll burn the White House twice in the White House. Burn, burn, burn.
You know, maybe we'll burn it down again. you know, just try to fuck with Canada. You know.
Well, that's it there, ladies and gentlemen. Opening article here. Trudeau says the feds will clean up after the fact amid the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit fraud concerns. So we're going to clean it up. Prime Minister Justo says the government is planning to clean up after the fact if the CERB is distributed too widely. Trudeau made the comment after Conservative MP Dan Albus pressed the Prime Minister repeatedly on the issues first reported in a National Post article, which wrote that public servants were being advised to continue processing claim payments in cases where possible abuse was detected. So they're actually just straight up, the directive is, even if you detect abuse, don't worry, just pay them anyway. Even if they're clearly abusing the system, we'll mop it up later. That definitely works out there. You know, we've seen the effect of mopping it up later from a bunch of faggots this week. The Office of Employment Minister Carla Qualtrough confirmed to CTV News that a guidance document was given to bureaucrats in terms of how to triage claims, but they explained that instances of abuse were still being flagged and pursued. The CRB has safeguards that include attesting to the eligibility criteria and providing a valid SIN and additional safeguards in the back end. As previously stated, this allows payments to be made quickly and efficiently to eligible Canadians while ensuring that any payments made to ineligible persons will have to be repaid in full. That has meant that, yes, there will be things that we need to clean up after the fact. Oh, fuck. But getting that help into Canadians' pockets during this pandemic was our priority, Justo said. Our focus was getting help out to people when they needed it as quickly as possible and cleaning it up afterwards, Trudeau said. Then after another...
How much more tax dollars is it going to cost to fucking clean it up as bureaucratically as fucking they possibly can? You know?
Well, over 11 million applications have been processed and over $30 billion in CERB benefits have been paid out. Yeah. Many Canadians started their 4 months of aid in March and provides successful applicants with $2,000 a month for up to 4 months. So the program's available till October, and, you know, during any 4-month period from now till October, you can claim the fucking dollars, the dineros. We obviously knew from the start that we needed to implement the CERB quickly in order to make sure Canadians could stay healthy while being able to put food on the table, so 7.5 million Canadians have received support from CERB, and we will continue to be there for Canadians. Meanwhile, the federal debt is climbing amid these emergency economic measures. The Parliamentary Budget Office has warned that the federal debt could reach $1 trillion within the fiscal year. Holy fuck. And noted that his $252 billion projection for the federal deficit is very optimistic. You know what I mean? So what we're doing is in 1 year, we're adding 20% of what we've added in debt throughout the entire history of Canada. You know?
I thought it was only $184 billion last time. Now it's fucking conservatively $252 billion.
Just relax, buddy. It doesn't matter what the numbers are. We'll just print more money. That's the fucking Canadian way, eh? Holy fuck, now. As the fiscal questions continue, the government has said it has no timeline for the federal budget. Justo would not commit to provide a fiscal update anytime soon. A budget is usually something that projects what's going to happen in the Canadian economy for the next 12 months, and right now we're having a lot of difficulty establishing with any certainty what's going to happen in the next 12 weeks. So there we go. We're going to mop it up later. I mean, they're never going to be able to actually mop it all up. Like, tons of fraud from immigrants and motherfuckers who can't be held accountable with fake social insurance numbers and shit like this. This is definitely happening. But, you know, it'll be mopped up later. The only people who are going to be mopped up later are average people like you and me who tried to fucking claim it and are going to get raped because you tried to follow the law, but on a technicality, they'll make you pay it back. You know, there's 0 people in Brampton who are going to have to pay it back, but you, the average person, will have to pay it back. That's just how it goes.
It's just nonsense. Like, what was the largest deficit we've ever had before this?
You know, I couldn't tell you that offhand, but I imagine it would be about 1/10 of what we're fucking going to see this year. So, just get ready. But everybody said budgets will balance themselves. You know, we're just going to run some small deficits for the first 2 years, and then we're going to balance the budget again. Who the fuck believed Justo when he said this bullshit in 2015? We have run now like 6 straight fucking deficits. We're just going to keep running them. Forever. Forever. It doesn't even matter. Ford announces that...
That's what he said. He said the budget would balance itself.
Yeah, the budget balances itself, buddy. Because what will happen is we'll get so many more revenues, bro, from the spending. And it'll end up balancing itself out, bro. So don't even worry about spending because it will grow the economy. If we put money from the right pocket in the left pocket, we're richer. Even though Ford announces economic reopening starting May 8th. Ontario Premier Doug Ford addressed the media today, providing a light at the end of the tunnel regarding the reopening of the economy. Ford proclaimed that with cases continuing to decrease, preparations for the economic reopening were inching closer. Ontario has already allowed select business to reopen safely, with Ford saying that following consultation, he is prepared to announce that as of Friday, May 8th, garden centers and nurseries will be allowed to reopen heading into Mother's Day. As of the 9th of May, hardware stores and safety supply stores will be able to reopen as long as they follow strict public health measures, the same as for grocery stores and pharmacies. Ford said that essential construction will also be expanded, such as demolitions, condo construction, and housing construction in general. Non-essential retail businesses with a street entrance as of May 11th will be allowed to provide roadside pickup. We're at the start of a long road, said Ford. The hard work of rebuilding what we lost is still ahead of us, but we will be there for you, and together we will get the job done.
You know, I just want to know when I can go back to the fucking gym. It rattles me every day that I can't go to the fucking gym and run on the fucking elliptical machine, you know.
Do they
get
still
some
charge
fucking
you?
Exercise. No, they don't charge me. They haven't charged me since fucking March when it closed down.
Regarding restaurants, Ford told business owners to hang in there, and that no definitive date was available, but that it would be sooner rather than later, and as soon as the numbers come down, restaurants would open their doors for diners. When it came to when Ontarians would be able to go to their cottages, Ford had previously hinted at a move for Victoria Day. On Monday, the Premier told reporters that Ontarians were eager to get back to normal life, saying there's only so long you can hold back taxpayers from going to their cottage. I had a conversation with one of the mayors of Muskoka. We did the right thing by requesting Ontarians stay away from cottage country. But as we see the numbers come down, by May 24th, we're going to have a heart-to-heart conversation this week with the mayors. Ford would hold a statement Thursday telling visitors to hold off on heading to the country as the province continues its battle against the pandemic. Ford said, with Victoria Day long weekend and cottage season just around the corner, we need to stay vigilant. There has still been no legal plan put into place to restrict people from visiting their cottages. Despite the new recommendations, I know Ontarians are eager to enjoy the great outdoors, but there will be plenty of long weekends to come. So that's what Doug is saying.
You know, I hope these people quit paying their fucking property taxes. You know, like, could you imagine paying property taxes and them saying,
they have to.
You can't go to your fucking property?
There's no law, though, saying you can't. It's just a recommendation. It's just fucking...
I can't imagine being retarded enough to actually take that recommendation seriously. Well, actually, I can, because I work with people that have fucking tried to tell me how that recommendation makes sense. You know, and I just told them, like, imagine believing that. Like, are you fucking stupid?
These are the people that
how
voted
much
for
can you
Justin.
really say in the fucking workplace, you know?
Trudeau urges people to buy Canadian food and produce amid COVID-19. He doesn't encourage people to do anything Canadian otherwise, but this time.
That's pretty based.
Prime Minister Justo is urging people to buy Canadian as domestic food producers feel the strain of global restrictions put in place to limit the spread of the novel coronavirus. He made the comments in a daily press briefing with journalists outside Rideau Cottage on Thursday, while announcing new supports for fish harvesters having lost income from the pandemic. To everyone who wants to show their support, buy Canadian. Pick up some Canadian cheese to help a local dairy farmer. Have a fish fry or buy Canadian lobster, said Justo. Not only will it taste great, it will help the people who keep food on our plates. The Fisheries Minister, Bernadette Jordan, made the call for Canadians to buy domestic, specifically urging people to buy domestic fish and seafood. Canadian harvesters are resilient and determined. Today I'm urging Canadians to show their support by purchasing more of our high-quality, sustainably sourced products at your local grocer. As Global News reported this year, federal officials have been exploring how best to launch a Buy Canadian Food campaign for months, with plans to launch that initiative this summer. It's not clear whether that is still poised to go ahead. The concept of Buy Canadian gained traction back in 2018 after Trump slapped tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum as part of a trade war to gain leverage in NAFTA negotiations. The Canadian government rolled out $1 billion worth of reciprocal tariffs. Canadians are the main buyers of U.S. goods, and the patriotic sentiment Trump's tariff sparked quickly led to dozens of articles about how consumers could spend their money on Canadian goods. So there we go. Justo's telling you to buy Canadian.
You know, like, I would buy American too, but I won't buy fucking Chinese shit anymore. Like, shit made in China, I will purposely not fucking buy. And I don't give a fuck how much shit's made in China. Like, I fucking won't buy shit from China anymore. Because fuck China. You know, they all need to go back. And all the fucking shit that's owned from fucking China and Canada, we just need to say, no, it's ours now. We don't give a fuck.
I have to give
it's
Justo...
It's no longer yours. You go back.
I have to give Justo some shit for saying that we should be buying Canadian, because that doesn't sound like what a global citizen should say. What we really need to be doing is not purchasing Canadian goods. Our Canadian businesses are going to be fine. What we need to be concerned about is, what are the businesses in Somalia doing? We need to be concerned.
But there isn't even businesses in Somalia. Like,
that's very racist.
I don't think they've
advanced
racist. To a point in Somalia where businesses exist.
No, Somalia is actually a rainbow paradise where unicorns prance along the plains.
Buddy, in Somalia they have mud huts and rape.
No, that's actually racist lies.
Good.
Those are racist lies. You should have
buddy.
to go to the Human Rights Tribunal and apologize.
The Human Rights Tribunal can fucking have the right to beat off my fucking penis.
I don't know. The Human Rights Tribunal will sodomize you, buddy.
No, they won't. I'll sodomize
It's the kangaroo court, pal. Good luck. Good luck. Well, eat cheese! France warned 5,000 tons could go to waste as Canada deals with its own cheese surplus. Producers are calling on the French to do what you can for cheese. It seems incongruous, but the famously cheese-loving French have turned away from one of their greatest culinary contributions. Since France went into lockdown, cheese consumption has decreased by nearly 60%. As a result, more than 5,000 tons of cheese could go to waste if they don't start eating more and fast. Typically, among the world's top consumers, French people are now being asked to do what they can for their cheese there. Holy fuck. While firm cheeses such as Comte or Beaufort can last for months unopened, soft cheeses, an especially rich category in France, which includes Camembert and Brie, have a much shorter window. For 80% of cheeses, the shelf life does not exceed 8 weeks, and for some, even less than a month. As with Belgium's glut of French fry potatoes, which led farmers to promote eating frites twice a week during the coronavirus crisis, we covered that a couple weeks ago, the French cheese surplus strikes at the heart of intangible cultural heritage. Eat cheese, make a fair trade act to maintain the French culture, the French tradition, the French heritage that we all share, Lacoste told CNN. The cheese surplus isn't confined to France. Seemingly in direct opposition to our comfort food cravings, COVID has resulted in Canadians eating less of both French fries and cheese, while demand for milk has stayed more or less the same. Our appetite for cheese and cream has taken a significant downturn. Well, the reason for that is because cheese in Canada is fucking expensive. It's an absolute ass rapening if you're going to go buy...
It's like $19 fucking dollars for a small block of fucking cheese.
You know what I mean?
I don't really eat cheese.
Well, it's very bad. It's very bad, the pricing on it, so no wonder people are cutting back on it. But the dip is primarily because we're cooking for ourselves, says Joanne MacArthur. Just like we tend to eat fries at quick service restaurants, we eat more cheese when we're dining out than we do at home. I don't know if that's true. Part of it is we're just eating less of it, but in some ways it's less accessible to us. A lot of channels where we would normally buy cheese, farmers markets, boutique stores, they haven't been open depending on your province. One of the key challenges facing the artisan cheesemaker is being able to connect with consumers. Some cheesemakers, distributors, and retailers are now offering delivery to bridge the gap. But for Ruth Clausen, owner of Montfort Dairy in Stratford, the pandemic has meant rethinking her business model. When restaurants either closed or switched to delivery or takeout only, Clausen started offering a $60 box of cheese for delivery in London, Stratford, and Toronto. People are not pushing back on the price point at all. It ties up a fair bit of labor and a fair bit of time, but it's been really effective. I would say it saved us, she says. But when it comes to industry-specific campaigns encouraging people to eat more of a certain food as a way to deal with surpluses, she thinks we should take a wider perspective. No one gives a shit. Anyway, basically, the cheese industry is fucked in Canada, but it's their own fucking fault for imposing a supply management cartel on the people of Canada that fucking rapes us in the ass on prices on meat, poultry, dairy, eggs, everything. All groceries in Canada are more expensive because we don't allow international competitors to come in. We tariff the shit out of them, and we set artificial prices for Canadian-made produce to set it at artificially high rates to just rape the consumer. So, at the end of the day, fuck all of them anyhow. I hope the cheese cartel goes under. The goddamn motherfucking Jews.
I don't even eat cheese anyways. Like, I would fucking use cheese to make bacon and egg sandwiches. But I usually just eat bacon and eggs. They don't buy it. So I use maybe 5 slices, and then the rest of the fucking cheese will go to waste.
There's a lawsuit. There's a fucking lawsuit against the federal government because prisoners aren't being taken care of.
Like, they're not even in the prison anymore. Weren't they all let out?
No, they weren't all let out, bro. You can't let all of them.
Just like 60% of them?
I don't know. They let out a lot of prisoners. Physical distancing measures in correctional institutions during COVID have been grossly inadequate.
Like, if they've let out so many of them, like, the ones that are left had to do some pretty fucked up shit to be left, Like, fuck them.
Well, it's been grossly inadequate. They put the health and safety of prisoners at risk. The lawsuit is filed by Sean Johnston, who is serving a life sentence for murder. Several human rights organizations claim that failures to protect the health of prisoners during the pandemic violates their charter rights.
This guy's serving a fucking life sentence for murder, and he's gonna complain about fucking how his rights are violated, and they need to fucking make sure he's provided fucking a better environment to be healthy. Like, you're serving life for murder, pal. You should have the fucking death sentence.
Well, Johnston and the groups, which include the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, the Canadian Prison Law Association, they filed the application in federal court Tuesday against the court's Attorney General. Physical distancing measures in prison have been grossly inadequate, Johnston said in his statement. Some of us remain double bunked and cannot achieve physical distancing within our own cells, let alone throughout the institution. Without a vaccine or approved treatment for COVID, physical distancing remains the greatest protection against contracting the novel coronavirus.
But that's retarded. Like, if you're fucking cellmates, like, you can't complain about not being able to physically distance. Like, it's like a family living in a house. They're not going to fucking physically distance because they're all part of the same family.
The reality of it is they have to
retarded.
double bunk. There's no fucking way you can give each prisoner, the individual prisoner, their own cell. Even if you fucking cleaned out a large percentage of the population, the prisons were overcrowded to begin with. A lot of the time, they've had to put more than 2 prisoners in a cell. So the idea that we're going to be able to put each individual prisoner in their own cell is fucking crazy. But, it is what it is. They allege that Correctional Services Canada cannot keep prisoners safe because it cannot ensure the proper social distancing measures without reducing the prison population. Well, yeah, no shit. Unlike other correctional authorities around the world, however, the Correctional Service of Canada has taken few, if any, steps to release prisoners from its institutions. Federal prisoners are disproportionately at risk, both of contracting COVID due to the nature of the penitentiary environment and of suffering severe adverse outcomes, including death, due to the prevalence among the federal population of inmates of pre-existing vulnerabilities. 2 prisoners have died of COVID. 333 have tested positive. The vast majority of the cases have come from outbreaks at 2 institutions in Quebec, 1 in British Columbia. But yeah, unlike other correctional authorities around the world, the Correctional Service of Canada has taken few, if any, steps to release prisoners from its institution, the suit alleges. Now, that's not necessarily true. We have released quite a few prisoners from the prisons, but not as many as some of the other countries who've just decided to fucking give up and just release all the prisoners. Anyway, the lawsuit's allegations have not been proven in court. Yeah, no shit, because the courts aren't fucking open. The Office of Attorney General David Lametti did not respond to a request for comment. There's been a downward trend. That's pretty much it. I mean, this fucking prisoner has decided that this is his opportunity to make a name for himself, get his name in the headlines there for fucking doing whatever. Lost the fucking previous article.
Yeah, you clicked an extra time, buddy.
Oh,
You shouldn't have clicked an extra fucking time, buddy.
See
But fuck the prisoners, you know? Like, these people are serving life for murder, and they're gonna cry about their fucking rights. You know, that they might contract COVID. Like, good, contract fucking COVID, you know? Like, none of us fucking care. You know, like, cry us a fucking story about it. You know? I don't even know what to say.
Well, I don't know. Fuck it. We won't even cover Bryan Adams. I don't give a shit.
No, fuck Bryan Adams. You know.
Well,
like,
basically, what fucking happened is Bryan Adams said that, you know, he's pissed off that his concerts have been canceled because a bunch of people are eating bats or whatever the fuck. And people said that, you know, you're a piece of shit, Brian, for saying that.
You're a racist, Brian.
You're a racist. You're fucking canceled, Brian. And Brian's put in the summer of 69.
Like, the summer of 69 was 51 fucking years ago. You know, like, holy
But
fuck.
Brian apologized and fucking licked people's assholes. So.
What a faggot. Could you imagine apologizing for that?
Well, you're going to have to apologize for all the things you say, Surfer, or you're going
I'm
to go
not
to
going to
jail.
apologize for any of it.
You need to apologize
You
now.
know? For none of it will I
Dick
fucking
Masterson's going to
apologize.
report you to the Human Rights Tribunal and you're going to get raped. Anyway, Justo says businesses who do not fight climate change will not get new support money.
Yep, here it starts, you know, like the government's trying to fucking take control over everyone that gets fucking paid. They're trying to control how people are fucking paid so they can decide who fucking gets paid and who doesn't. Then if you're a political dissident, they just say, fuck you, you can die, you know?
Well, Prime Minister
That's the only
Justo,
reason they're doing any of this.
he addressed the media on Monday announcing new additional support for businesses. Justo announced additional support for businesses to help save Canadian jobs. The Trudeau government outlines a 4-point plan that is aimed to help businesses through the pandemic. This will be done mainly through the new Large Employer Emergency Financing Facility, or LEAF. I'm not even joking. To provide bridge financing to Canada's largest employers, whose needs during the pandemic
No,
are...
like it's literally leaf, how you would spell leaf if you had Down syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, Justo said that oil and gas companies will be expected to put forward a frame that shows their commitments to reducing emissions and fighting climate change to be eligible for the LEAF. Companies which avail themselves to the LEAF subsidies will need to make a commitment to the fight against climate change. We have seen many oil and gas companies make commitments already around net zero by 2050, around understanding that we need to be better in terms of reducing emissions both as a country and as a sector. That's why we're expecting them to put forward a frame which will demonstrate their commitments to reducing emissions and fighting climate change. So they need to be prepared to cut emissions to zero by 2050. So these oil and gas businesses need to be prepared to stop existing by 2050 in order to get this money. So it's just a question, do you want to stop existing now? or do you want to stop existing like 20, 30 years from now? Trudeau announced the expansion of the Business Credit Availability Program to cover mid-sized companies with large financing needs. Trudeau said that as the economy reopens, strong testing protocols must remain in place to ensure that the virus doesn't resurge. So there we go. Justo is just ensuring that the natural gas and oil sector just gets fucked in the ass even harder. You guys need a bailout? You're having a tough time after you've carried the country for decades? Well, fuck you, pal. Go fucking starve in the fucking darkness. You know, bow down to my fucking climate change agenda, or you won't get one fucking penny of your money that you've sent to Ottawa in the first place. Do you know what I mean? This is where we're at. Here we go. Most Canadians are in favor of postponing elections due to the coronavirus. Most Canadians...
But, like when is this election? Like,
it's not just that. It's all elections. Like,
is it going to be the election in 2023?
No, not just that election. They're talking about all elections. So, like, municipal elections, provincial elections, they all should be delayed. All of them. So most Canadians feel that elections in the country should be pushed back until the coronavirus is under control. The poll showed 72% of Canadians support postponing elections while the pandemic is still underway. Of the men surveyed, 60% said they are strongly against the elections being delayed, compared to just 33% of women. So 67% of women are in favor of the lockdown, delaying the elections. 60% of men say they are strongly against the elections being delayed.
You know, well, women shouldn't be voting anyways. So, you know, it doesn't matter what they think about it, you know.
Well, the problem is maybe they get to vote, so
but let's just delay. They're right, you know. Let's just delay the elections for women indefinitely. We'll just delay it for them indefinitely. You know, and the men will go fucking vote.
Saskatchewan and Manitoba showed the least support for delaying elections at 59% in favor. The poll shows that the two provinces that have the most support for continuing the elections on time also have the least recorded satisfaction with premiers. Saskatchewan is set to move forward with its election by October 2020. Scott Moe, Premier of Saskatchewan, said the election will go forward on October 26th, no matter what is happening with the coronavirus curve. At the press conference last week, Moe noted the election is likely to look a lot different than the last election looked like 4.5 years ago. I have every confidence our Chief Electoral Officer will ensure that we are able to conduct that election in a very safe manner across this province.
Like, this is October we're talking about. Like, you know, no one's going to be on lockdown in October.
No, we are going to be on lockdown.
We're not.
But, buddy, we are. We're going to be in lockdown forever.
I fucking refuse, you know. And most
doesn't
people
matter.
are like me.
It doesn't. No, they're not like you. Like,
no, they are. They're going to refuse.
Most people are just. Most people are white nationalists like Surfer who are based in Red Pilled and know the truth about.
Well, that's not what I mean, buddy. I mean, most people, by the time October rolls around, are going to have enough. They're just going to fucking.
No, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. What's going to happen is there's going to be the second wave. Everybody will be scared shitless and fucking shit their pants about the second wave. And then we'll be in lockdown until this time next year. So just preparing you for reality. But that's what's going to happen. Canada has only once delayed an election, and that was a postponement of more than 5 years and was on account of the First World War. Ipsos CEO Daryl Bricker says the move to delay would not be a surprising one. People really want their politicians, all public agents...
I need a beer. Get out of the way, buddy. Yeah, fuck this guy.
Bricker said politicking as normal is not seen as appropriate during this time. Lisa Young, a professor of political science at University of Calgary, said the relevance of the data is really a question of how long we're going to be living under these circumstances. Depending on how long the pandemic lasts, and there's going to be a necessity to think about how we can hold elections in ways that don't put people at risk. Young said that provinces only need to have elections every 5 years. She described delaying the delay date as perfectly reasonable, though waiting over 5 years would present significant political impacts. Anytime you essentially set aside the Constitution in order to delay holding an election, you raise the question of whether you are taking away people's fundamental political rights. It's not raising the question. You are legitimately taking away people's fundamental political rights to determine what government they're going to have for themselves. But she says, I would assume under most circumstances that a government that did this would be punished when an election was eventually held because they had taken away citizens' right to vote. University of Waterloo political science professor Dr. Besma Momani said waiting too long to hold an election may have serious consequences. The democratic vote is an essential part of grading the government's actions, behaviors, and policies. If you don't have that mechanism, governments will not feel that they have a responsibility in the same way. She touched on the way politicians' campaigns could be changed with the pandemic. She said that postponing the elections would be in a government's best interest if they have an older voting base full of people who are less likely to show up to the poll. But a government like Justo's that does well with the younger generation might decide to create policies that allow for voting online or mail-in. We're so fucked. The moment it goes to you can vote online with just your email address, shit's going to be so fucked and just so shitty. Because every fucking retard with a pulse will be able to vote then. Because today it actually takes some level of effort. You have to register to vote. You have to actually show up to the polling place, wait in line for a few minutes to cast your vote. That already, just that small amount of effort, weeds out a whole lot of people who just smoke weed all day on the couch and collect welfare checks. Right away, it weeds out a lot of those people who just can't be bothered or fist fucked to deal with anything. But now, those fucking idiots will just be able to vote from their goddamn couch if we introduce online voting, fucking mail-in voting, shit like this, you know, and it's just going to lower the overall quality of voters and ensure that we will have a Jagmeet Singh minority at some point in time. Because all the fucking degenerates are just going to vote for him, you know, off their fucking lazy ass. Anyway, Momani spoke about what she calls the urban versus rural debate, which could affect the way politicians move forward. Highly dense urban areas maybe are less comfortable lining up for the polls, particularly we know the virus thrives in dense situations, where rural communities may feel more comfortable because they have less cases. Wonderful. It still doesn't change the fact that the urban areas, even if the voter turnout isn't there, still have way more representation in the parliament, in the first past the post system. So it doesn't even matter. You say, oh, it's great that the fucking city voters won't show up, those dumb jerrys. Well, no, their vote will still count just as much as it ever has, even if they don't turn up anyway. The reality of it is we're just going to have a higher turnout of degenerates, retards, weirdos, freaks, and fuckheads, you know, who's going to be able to vote online. Fuck.
Just people who shouldn't be voting.
Lord help us. Lord help us if we ever fucking implement online voting. It'll just be 10 times worse than it is already.
I think come October, the young people will fucking snap. And the young people have the fucking physical power. You know, all these old boomers don't have the fucking physical power. Like, they may still cry in October to continue the lockdown, but young people of our age are gonna fucking snap.
I'm sure they're not just gonna sit at home, take the government bribe, and smoke weed. No, they're gonna rise up with their guns, you know, and overthrow the government.
This is exactly why they legalized weed. And it's fucking degenerate to smoke weed. You shouldn't fucking smoke weed for this exact reason. You know, like...
Well, no, it's just... The idea that by October people are gonna rise up, I think, is fucking delusional. Nobody is gonna fucking rise up in this country. Least of all, come October, November, December. It's going to be so fucking...
Well, you're right, because they're all fucking stoned off their ass on the fucking couch.
Not only that, it's gonna be fucking cold out. As soon as it starts to snow and shit, any opportunity for some sort of revolution where people are going to be outside with firearms all day, it's just not going to fucking happen. People aren't going to go outside and fucking overthrow the government in the middle of fucking winter. Leave their fucking comfy government welfare check of $2,000 a month and EI and all this shit and legal fucking weed and food delivery to the house and Netflix and Amazon Prime and every comfort on God's green fucking earth just because the government says they can't leave their house. Most of these people don't want to leave their houses anyway. They've never been fucking happier. They're happier than a pig in fucking shit. You know what I mean? Like, you think that these people are upset that their liberties have been taken away. They're glad because they didn't want the liberties in the first place. They just want to be safe and comfortable for the rest of their lives. And I think that's what you...
Yeah, but what about when hyperinflation fucking hits because of all this money that's
It's not going to happen.
Out?
It's not going to happen. The
and
money machine just
prices,
goes...
Prices shoot through the fucking roof because the supply chains are damaged. What happens
money
then?
Machine goes... They'll just print more money, dude. It doesn't matter. The whole system is built on a scam anyway. It should have already collapsed years and years ago. You know what I mean? But they're just fucking printing this infinite supply of cash. Well, eventually, someday it'll crash. No! The Jew has just decided to just fucking Jew you this hard. It's never gonna fucking collapse. The machine just keeps fucking going. So any day now, it's gonna collapse. People have been saying this. I fucking heard any day now. The fucking Federal Reserve and the banks are gonna collapse since 2012. You know? I've heard it all before. I just think that it's very obvious
well, 2012 to 2020 isn't a very long time.
I'm just saying, I've heard it for more than 8 years. I haven't been alive on this earth for very fucking long. Okay? I've just fucking been around long enough to hear this fucking horse shit.
Hear it again and again.
Again and again and again. It's never fucking happening.
Fuck.
But I don't know. I'm glad you're optimistic that the youth are based and are gonna fucking pick up rifles. Like, I don't see it happening, but I'm glad you have.
No, you're right.
We'll see. It's the same thing where, like, you'd be optimistic that people actually fight against Dick Masterson's faggotry, you know, and not accept it. But the reality is people will accept it because he runs, like, the only Jewish game in town, New Project 2. And people will just accept him sweeping it up. You know, people won't do that. They're fucking a principle. No, they don't. Everybody's just full of shit, bro. Anyway, that's fucking what I think. The black pills. Get your fucking black pills. Get your black pills here.
You know.
Get your fucking black pills here, ladies and gentlemen. It's all fucking over.
Reality
We're going into
is,
the AI
I
technocratic
fucking commented on fucking Dick's page, you know, about how much of a fucking Jew he is, you know. And he fucking commented in reply, and like 3 people liked his comment on his page, but like 14 liked mine, and like 3 fucking reshared it. So, you know, the reality is there's more people that are fucking wooed by the truth than are wooed by the Jew lies.
I don't know, man. Because you got to remember that his post was a response to your post, so most people would have seen your post. They would have had to hit an additional button to see his post. But you're right. It is a victory that yours did get more than his, but his was buried underneath yours. You know what I mean?
I don't know how it works. Twitter's pretty fucking
Twitter's, I don't really know how it works either. It's kind of a scam. All right, shameful. Trudeau's heritage minister can't define Western Canadian heritage. We're not surprised by this because, as we've heard from Justo, we're the first post-national state. There is no such thing as Canadian heritage, Canadian values, Canadian culture, or a Canadian nation. We are beyond that. We are now the postmodern experiment. You know, this is the sort of thing that Justo says. Members of Parliament were aghast with Heritage Minister Stephen Goubal Monday night when he failed to define what Western heritage was. Blacklocks was first to report that Trudeau's Heritage Minister was told by MPs that it's actually a thing. Our entire heritage ecosystem is under threat right now from coast to coast to coast. Artists are finding it very difficult right now in Ontario, in Alberta, in Saskatchewan. He said as he explained the $500 million in coronavirus aid to the culture sector. Do we really Like, that's the fucking most essential thing, that we need to spend $500 million bailing out the culture sector, propping up failing fucking theaters, fucking failing operas and shit like this. Whatever, the money's already fucking lost, but it is what it is. So I'm wondering if you can tell the committee what constitutes Western heritage, asked Michelle Rempel-Gardner. Michelle Rempel-Gardner loves to just toast these idiots' assholes day after day. Gabal responded by rejecting the notion of Western heritage. I would be one to believe in Canadian heritage from coast to coast. The following exchange ensued. So this is Rempel-Gardner. I'm wondering if you think Western heritage, because it's actually a thing. It would be like you asking me about Quebec culture and me not being able to talk about that. So it is a thing. I'm just wondering if you think Western heritage is important to Canada. Minister Gabal says, I believe all parts of Canada's heritage is important to Canada. Western heritage, Eastern heritage, Northern heritage, First Nations. And she goes, would you like to hazard a guess as to what is constituted in Western heritage? And the minister says, if you have suggestions in terms of what it is we can do to help support different parts of Canada's heritage ecosystem, we would be happy to consider them. Like, the way he talks about it, so like clinical and cold, like science. It's a heritage ecosystem, and we care about all the different types of heritage, all the same. You know, this isn't the way you talk about your shared heritage and your culture. Because do you think
like, shut up, faggot.
Do you?
That's what I'd tell him if I was a fucking MP or fucking
you'd be kicked out of the house for swearing.
That's all right.
Do you think Western heritage is under threat right now, and perhaps needs a little bit of bolstering from, let's say, the heritage minister? The minister says, I think I have tried to outline how our entire heritage ecosystem is under threat right now. Just how would you act as heritage minister to preserve Western heritage if you don't know what it is? He says, my role is to support artists throughout the country. And then MP Earl Dreschen spoke with clarity on the subject of Western heritage. He said, as Western Canadians, we understand and we cherish our pioneer spirit, those strong and gentle hands that built this country. Canada's true environmentalists, its farmers, its ranchers, its surveyors, and its fur traders that opened up the West, the merchants and the laborers who kept commerce going, the brave military men and women who fought and continue to fight to keep this land strong and free. That's our Western heritage. That's what we're talking about. Now, once again, I don't live in Western Canada. I never have, and I probably never will. I live in Ontario. But at the same time, I could tell you what the West is about. I could tell you what Quebec is about, what the Maritimes are about, what their cultural values and heritage are, the history of those peoples and why they are the way that they are. And I'm not the fucking heritage minister. Again, I'm just some fat fucking retard. So at the end of the day, it just gets very, very sad when you have the heritage minister who does know these things, who could give a legitimate answer on heritage and on culture. But because the directive from the Prime Minister is that we don't have a culture in this country, and that Canadians don't have a right to exist and express their culture and their identity and their heritage, he's just forced to bullshit and do all this fucking song and dance. And just be like, yeah, there is no such thing as I protect it. I don't know what it is. I couldn't define it for you. But I stand for preserving something. I have no idea what it is or what it's about. So that's what's going on. That's what's going on.
Because they're trying to replace us with a fucking slave class. They don't want our fucking heritage to exist.
Well, it's already happened.
Well, they should all just be strangled on the front lawn of fucking Parliament.
Well, again, that's also an illegal statement. That's sedition and treason.
I don't give a fuck.
It's sedition.
It's real.
Treason.
You know who's a fucking traitor? Do you know who's committed fucking treason? Fucking Justo, He's testing the fucking Chinese coronavirus vaccine. After the fucking Chinese insect people brought us the fucking coronavirus, now he's bringing their fucking vaccine here. And he's an absolute fucking traitor, and he should be strangled to death on the front lawn of Parliament.
So it's treason, is it?
Yeah, it is.
It's treason. Seth.
It is. Is that not a capital
This is
offense?
treason. You're going to be killed, buddy. I feel bad for you. I think you should apologize to Justo right now and admit that he's a very good prime minister who's managed to lead us into the globalist postmodern age where we're
Justo
all
needs
equal.
to fucking apologize to me. I won't apologize.
Why won't you
to
just
Justo.
admit that love is love?
Justo needs to fucking apologize to fucking Surfer.
Surfer.
Is what Justo needs
There
to
is
do.
only one race of people, the human race, Surfer. And I wish that you could understand that and understand that love is love.
No, I value human diversity, and that's
Lo-
why I'm a racist. You
Love
know,
is
and
love,
why
sir.
I fucking
Love is love,
I
Surfer.
seek racial homogeneity.
We all
Because
all
I love
bleed
all
red.
people.
At the end of the day, we all bleed red, buddy, and that's all that matters, right? Right? Anyway, CRA claiming $4.4 billion from Canadian companies and individuals suspected of tax evasion. Here we go. If you don't pay your taxes, you're going to get raped. The $4.4 billion is far from one for Canada's tax agency.
But he's giving $44 million to the fucking Chinese to bring their fucking vaccine here after they fucking just brought their virus here, you know? And he expects us to pay for our fucking taxes?
You better pay your taxes, boy.
Fuck this guy. Everyone should just say, no, we're not going to pay our taxes. You know, fuck you, Justo.
I don't know, sir. I don't know. That seems like treason. The federal government is claiming...
Is that treason, buddy?
It's treason.
Is it treason?
If you don't pay your
Is
tax...
it treason?
It's treason.
It's treason.
Treason now.
Fuck it, buddy. Fuck it.
The federal government's claiming $4.4 billion from Canadians and corporations suspected of cheating the taxman by hiding their money in offshore tax havens. The gross number is $4.4 billion at this moment. It's many years ahead of schedule, but it remains the gross number, said Ted Gallivan, Assistant Commissioner of International Large Business and Investigations Branch at the Canada Revenue Agency. Gallivan was responding to questions from Bloc Québécois MP Vignola. Vignola asked both CRA and the Minister of National Revenue, Diane Lebothier, to detail the results of $1 billion in investments by the Liberal government to fight tax fraud. How many Canadian companies and individuals does that $4.4 billion involve? How far back do these claims go? What were the CRA's claim targets that the agency is now many years ahead of schedule on? Gallivan wasn't asked to answer any of those questions by MPs, and the Assistant Commissioner was not available for an interview in the hours following the meeting. But that $4.4 billion is far from one for Canada's tax agency. Tax evasion cases, particularly when they involve wealthy individuals and corporations, often lead to notoriously long and difficult court fights for the CRA. And that's no different today, said Gallivan, who emphasized many times that $4.4 billion remains the gross amount, not the amount ultimately recouped by the agency. We still have a lot of cases that are in front of the courts. Over 3,000 of them, in fact, and the courts are shut down, so they're not happening. A lot of these inquiries will be resolved by the courts, but as of now, the gross amount is $4.4 billion. In many cases, judges will end up awarding the government less than it asked for when it wins. I think it might be reasonable to expect the CRA might get half of that, based on
But
past
why does that
experience.
even matter if they're gonna there's gonna be $300 billion of fucking deficit this year? Why does $2 million even matter?
Well, $2 billion. Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a drop in the bucket compared to the ridiculous amount of spending, the drunken sailor spending that's happening right now. And this sort of spending would have been okay in a one-time emergency, but because we've been living off a fucking Chinese credit card for decades now, we're just totally fucked.
Well, it's time to just tell the Chinese to get fucked and go home.
No, we can't
and
tell the
it's not your
Chinese to get
property,
fucked.
It's our property.
Well, no,
Why not? Why
the
couldn't we just tell them
because the Chinese own everything in this country, and
that?
we're
Well, we just tell them we own it now. This is our country.
yeah, okay.
Why
Yeah.
can't we do that? Explain to me why we can't do that.
Well, how do you think that's going to work?
Well, we just say, well, this is ours.
Yeah, and then
not
the
yours.
Chinese just say, no, you're our colony. We're going to crash your fucking central banks. We own your debt. We own your property. We own your people. We're a stronger military nation than you.
What are they going to do?
You...
Don't they not even have a Navy or a fucking Air Force? How are they going to bring their ground troops here, buddy?
Well, I'll tell you this. They certainly have a bigger military presence on this earth than Canada. I mean, the United States will defend us for sure. But at the end of the day, Canada is a country that doesn't have the political will to stand up and do what you're saying, Surfer, so it's irrelevant anyway. The country will bow to China and its whims forever. And eventually, the sphere of influence will become that the Chinese influence is greater than the American influence in this country. And then at that point, we'll be truly fucked. Already, the people are being fucking experimented on like guinea pigs in Canada, being given the goddamn Chinese vaccine that was developed in China for a disease that came from China. So the idea that we're just going to tell them to fuck off, it's just never going to fucking happen. Oh, elect fucking me, I'll do that. Well, nobody's going to fucking elect me. So the reality is it's fucking horse shit. We're just going to get raped and fucked. But yeah, this $4 billion that the CRA is trying to recoup, at the end of the day, it's a fucking drop in the bucket and it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day. But we're going out. What it is they're trying to say, we're going after people who are hiding their tax money in shelters and shit like this. At the end of the day, they'll never actually go after anybody who hides their money in shelters. They make these fucking pretend like, oh yeah, we're going after them. The rich will always be able to hide their money in tax-free havens. Always, always, always. The rich, the corporations, they'll always be able to hide their money. You, the average person in the middle class or the lower class or the working class, you have to pay your taxes and you don't have any fucking choice. But they're always able to fucking hide their money, and ever so often you hear of an article like this, oh wow, they're gonna crack down on the fucking tax havens. Yeah, bull fucking shit they are. Even if they do get like $2 billion back, that's just a drop in the bucket of the amount of tax fraud that goes on in this country to begin with. So it's fucking pointless. It's just a way to say, oh look, we're doing something, when really they don't do jack shit. Oh, fuck. Just pisses me off. The CRA claimed $368 million in taxes from the Canadian company, arguing that a bank it owned in the Barbados from the 90s until 2013 was really just a subsidiary because it got most of its money from the parent company. Thus, the CRA argued it had to pay taxes. But the Court of Appeal finally sided with Loblaws, who argued that Glen Huron was a regulated foreign bank under the laws of Barbados. So our court system is just completely fucking useless. Even when there's like basically a cut and dry case of a company setting up a fucking shell bank in Barbados, the courts could just, we'll look the other way. We'll look the other way because we're getting bribed by these fucking wealthy institutions and we'll never stand up to them. So fuck it. It's the larger corporations that are most easily able to avoid paying taxes. It certainly gives them an advantage over smaller and medium-sized businesses. Yeah, no fucking shit. It's part of how they crush the little guy. They have to pay the taxes. They have to follow the regulations. They get fined. They have to deal with all the red tape. But the corporate entities and the big fucking companies, the big boys, they don't have to deal with any of that fucking shit. And the government bails them out and subsidizes them as well. On top of not fucking paying taxes, they get handed billions in corporate welfare. It's fucking based. The minister promised that some cases will soon be brought before the courts, making them public for the first time. She added that the $1 billion investment by the Trudeau government to fight that sort of tax fraud was used to rebuild the CRA's investigative and auditing capacity. So we've poured $1 billion into this fucking auditing capacity of the CRA to try and recover $2 billion, Like, fuck me. Okay. Let's just read this last paragraph, and then we'll go into the King Cuck of the Week. Fuck it. According to the CRA's 2018-2019 annual performance report, The department claimed a record $14.4 billion in gross taxes from companies and individuals over the year. Over $8.6 billion, or 60% of these results. So in total, we brought in $14 billion in taxes. This year, we're going to spend $256 billion in deficit. Just incredible. Incredible. Anyway, that's fucking it for the articles for this week. So far as King Cuck Canuck of the fucking week is concerned, there can really only be one fucking winner this week, and it's Brian fucking Adams for deciding to apologize for calling the Chinese bad eaters. Brian Adams is truly the King Cuck Canuck of the week, and is truly a big-time faggot motherfucker. There's no doubt.
You know, there isn't a bigger fucking faggot for apologizing to that, you know, like, the Chinese need to fucking go back, and we just need to say, all the fucking debt that you own, all the fucking property you own here, you no longer own it. It's ours. You know, fuck you, China. You know, like, fuck them. I don't know what else to say. Like, that's really it. You know, and for Brian Adams to apologize, you know,
well, that's
I don't
it.
even know what to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've hit the hour for the week. This show is supposed to be a 1-hour program, and we pretty much hit that dead on the mark this week. So we thank you for tuning into This Week in Cuckada, and we'll fucking see you on the next...
What song are you gonna play?
I don't know.
You gonna play The Drunken Surfer?
No, I'll play the Drunken Surf.
Indulge me in the fucking Drunken Surfer. Here, we'll show them the Drunken Surfer. How do you spin it? Can you not spin it?
No, you can't.
You can't spin it. Look at, there's the Drunken Surfer. Can you zoom in? No, you can't even zoom in. What a disaster. What a disaster. Oh, there we go. There we go. Fuck.
Alright.
I'm just so rattled that everyone in Canada is such a cock faggot. You know, and more people don't think like me.
Well, what can you do, buddy? Maybe someday. But until tomorrow, until next week, peace out there.